Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy and I'm so happy you're here. Today we're doing 5 Dollar Tree DIYs for your fall farmhouse home decor. Thank you so much to Cricut for sponsoring this video, and if you like these projects, don't forget to give them a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. If you're not already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below, as well as the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. And now, without further ado, let's get started. For this project, I'm using some adhesive vinyl in these pretty fall colors, some Cricut transfer tape, and a Dollar Tree pizza pan that I'll be painting white with my Waverly chalk paint. And I'll give that a couple of coats and then set it aside to dry. So now I'm going to go to my Cricut design space and I'll pull up a super cute pre-made image from their inventory, and I'll show you how to do that a little later, and then I'll resize it by going in manually at the top with my dimensions. And because we're using multiple colors, Cricut separates them for you so you know which color of vinyl to load. And that might sound like a no-brainer, but I have mixed them up before, so this definitely keeps me in line. And then once they're cut out, I'll weed them, meaning I'm taking all of the excess vinyl off of the backing sheet with my weeding tool, and then I'll go back in and take out the insides of my letters and designs. And I'm telling you, this is always so therapeutic for me. I don't know why. Does anybody else get that feeling when you're doing some weeding? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's like the never-ending tape reveal. Now I want to show you just how detailed some of these cuts are, and this little pumpkin is already pretty small and I'm using a super long needle to get these bits out, but look at the teeny tiny curlicue of the tendril. It's almost microscopic and it's no problemo for my cutting machine. So now that I've got all 3 layers cut, I'll cover each of them with some Cricut transfer tape, or you can just keep using the same piece over and over to conserve that. And then I'll get all of the bubbles out with my squeegee and then pull the backing sheet off. And if any pieces come up with the backing sheet, just put it back down and rub it with your finger and then pull some more, and it should stay on there. And then I'll put that piece in the center of my pizza pan, squeegee it again, and then pull off the tape. And then I'll put my second layer on, and then the third. And if you're just using a single color, which would still be super cute if it was all black on a white surface or all white on a black surface, either way or any color, you don't have to mess with the layers and it would be cut as one single design, if that makes sense. So now I'm using a Dollar Tree sign that happens to have that same color combo in a plaid, and hot gluing a scrap piece of wood to the opposite side from the hanger piece, and that gives me a slot to hold the pizza pan, and it'll lean back a little bit against that wood like a plate holder. And then to keep it standing upright, I added some Dollar Tree rocks in the bottom to weigh it down. Now you could stop right there because that's pretty cute as is, but I needed some more goodies, so I added some Dollar Tree moss. And quick tip, it has a fold over flap at the bottom so you can close it back up when you're done. And then I cut 2 stems off of this Walmart lamb's ear, and these stems are $3.49 each, and you can see they're pretty full, so I think that's a great deal. And then I'll see how long I want them, add some Dollar Tree fall status, and wrap those together using a zip tie, and then hot glue that to the base. Then for the middle, I had a small scrap piece of burlap, which was too small to make a perky bow, so I kind of cheated by tying it together with some jute twine and then cutting my loops in half. So now it's a faux perky bow. Then I hot glued that to the middle of my greenery and added a little wooden bead with the excess twine that I tied my bow with. And here it is all finished, and I love how pretty this turned out. I had planned to make this into a tray, but then decided I really wanted to showcase that beautiful design. So even though it is centered, I really should have raised it a little bit, but I still love it, and I hope you like it too. I really love these soup mugs from the Dollar Tree because they have a larger area to put a decal. So I'm measuring that area to see what size to make them, and then I'll go back to my design space and hit the text icon on the left and type in "Let's Get," and then I'll choose my font from the drop down box, and you can scroll through to see what design you want to use. Or if you already know the name, you can put it in the search bar at the top. And so I'm using the font called In Your Face Joffrey. It's a silly name. But for the top words, that's what I'll use. And it's similar to the Ray Dunn lettering that you always see that's so popular. And then for the big word, in this case, it's going to be cozy. I'm using AMALFI Coast. And I'll have these listed in the description box below. And they're both from dafont.com. So once I get my design sized and cut it out, I'll weed it and go through that same transfer process with my transfer tape. And because these mugs have a rounded bottom, you can make little slits in the transfer tape to make your decal kind of wrap around there and go on much easier. And I will warn you that when you're using a non-porous surface like these mugs or glass, you pretty much only have one shot to get it in place, because once it's down, it's down. So just be mindful of that. Also, the permanent vinyl is supposed to be dishwasher safe, but I always hand wash them. I keep forgetting to test that out for myself, but I'm sure someone has. So if you have, let us all know in the comments below. These also make really great gifts, so if you put a sweet little bow on the handles and fill them with some comfy socks and maybe some tea or hot cocoa mix, you've got an adorable little perky prize, and they only cost $1 each. Or $202 if you count your Explore Air 2. Oh, and I almost forgot, you guys, I have a coupon code now, and it gives you 10% off. So technically, I guess that would be $182 for this project, plus whatever you pop inside. But I love them, and I hope you like them too. Here's another $182 project using 2 Dollar Tree flour sack towels. And I thought they were tea towels, but they're super big, so that must be why the tag didn't say tea towels. But you could totally cut these down and hem them to make 2 out of 1, or maybe even 4. I don't know. Anyway, so I just folded them up to get the size I wanted, and then I measured the length and width of the face. And then in Design Space, I hit the images icon from my canvas and searched for leaf vines. And there I'll have almost 5,000 images to choose from. And you can choose multiple images at one time, so you can have options and then decide which one you like the best. So I made a white rectangle the same size as my towel front, and then I can compare them. And sometimes you'll see just one piece, and you can tilt it from the top right corner and then duplicate it. And then at the top, you can hit flip and choose either horizontally or vertically, like I'm doing here. I didn't like that one, so I hit the X up at the top left to delete it. And then sometimes you'll see sets, and you'll have to hit ungroup on the top right of your window so that you can use them individually, and just keep playing with it until you get the look that you like. So I narrowed it down to 2, but I want to see what it looks like with my wording. So I typed out fall in one text box and chose the font FORESTEA SCRIPT. and then shrunk it down to fit at the top. And I typed each word separately so I could size it and move them individually, because whatever you type into one text box, they'll all have to be the same size. So now I've got my designs done, and I'll hide those white boxes by hitting the little eyeballs on the right, and then I'll keep each design together by clicking and dragging a box around one and then hitting group at the top. But if you hit make it at this point, you can see the words are all scattered and jumbled around the cutting mat, and it's hard to see here, but my letters are not connected in my words. So they'll cut individually, and you'll have little slices within your words on certain letters. So to fix all of that mess, you'll just click on one of the group designs, and then at the bottom, you'll hit attach, which will put it all together for the cut. And then if you hit weld, that'll make each word one continuous cut. So now when we hit make it, you can see that it's right. Now, because we're doing an iron-on project, we have to go over to the left side and hit the mirror switch to turn it around, so that way it'll be right side up on our towels. Then hit continue, and here's where we'll choose our material. So I'm going to the iron-on section and hitting everyday iron-on, but I'm using Smart Iron-On, which is made for the Explore Air 3 and Maker 3. And it's smart because it doesn't require a mat if you just feed it into the machine. But it will work with your Explore Air 2 and Maker 2 for cuts less than 24 inches, whereas the 3s can go, I don't know, like 70 feet, because there's a special sensor inside that keeps it straight. And since the Smart Iron-On isn't actually made for the Explore Air 2 or the Maker 2, it won't show on your drop down menu of materials, so you do have to use everyday iron-on. So anyway, I cut out my designs, and if you know me, you know I love tape reveals and I love weeding. And so weeding iron-on material is just the best of both worlds. There's no stickiness on back, and you don't have to be too careful with it. You know, sometimes it's just those little things in life that make me happy. So now we're headed to our computer, laptop, or phone, and I have a bookmark for Cricut's handy dandy heat guide, and all you do is choose the heat press you're using, find the material in the drop down box, and we're using again Smart Iron-On, and then our base material is 100% cotton. I have a mat, but you can also use a towel. Hit apply, and it tells you what temperature to set your press at, the number of seconds to hold it on there, and the amount of pressure. Then we have to flip it and heat for an additional 15 seconds, and even when to lift it off. Then it goes into more detail if you're a beginner or if you only retain water like me and need instructions every single time. Then on our easy press, you adjust those numbers with the plus and minus buttons, and you're off to the races. Super easy peasy. So I gave this a quick pressing to flatten it out a bit, and our guide also tells us to preheat the fabric for 5 seconds, and then I'll place my press right on top of my iron-on and give it some light pressure, push the go button, and it will count down those 30 seconds, lift my press straight up and onto the dock, flip the towel over and go another 15 seconds, wait for it to cool down, and then pull the clear plastic sheet off, and it's done. And here they are all finished, and I love these so much. It's one of the easiest and quickest projects, but perfect for fall. And I'm actually going to have these completed towels listed in my Etsy shop because the shipping won't be so silly crazy. And I may have more than one, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But anyway, I love them. I love Jesus, and I hope you like him too. For this project, I'm using an Easter cutting board, and I'm just going to use my Cricut spatula to pull off that top piece that's on there. And these are little tacks or nails or something, and there's also some glue that's underneath. So I pulled that off first, and then I'll go back and get my little tacks out of there. And you do want to cover them up because they will go flying. I had to search for one of them. Anyway, then I'm going to measure that top part, and then I'll paint it completely white with a couple of coats of Waverly paint, and just make sure that all of the lettering and colors are completely covered. And then for the back part of the board, I like that wood grain that's already on there, but I just wanted to make it a little bit more rustic, so I just took my sanding block and went around all of the edges and let some of that backing board peek through, and it looks really pretty with that rustic look. And then once my top piece was dry, I went ahead and did the same thing on the edges of that. So then I'll replace my top board with some hot glue on the back and then push those tacks right into the corners. And for some reason, I didn't notice it when I took them out, but the tacks weren't exactly in the centers of those corners. So I didn't change it because I figured it would be pretty much covered up with the little wreath that we're going to be putting on top. So one thing I like to do when I'm searching for an image is I will click on others that I like so that I don't lose them, since there's 70-11 out there. So I have the one that I'm going to be using for this project, but I grabbed a couple of others that I really liked, and I can just hide those for later, but at least I have them and I don't have to go searching for them again. So in this case, I'm using Welcome Autumn, and again, we're going to be using some black smart vinyl. And I will have all of these products linked in the description box below, so if there's anything that you need, you can just click on the link and it'll take you directly to that item. So I'm going to feed my material into the cutter, and again, this is the smart vinyl, so I don't need a mat for this, but you do want to make sure that you have a perfectly straight edge to feed into the machine. In this case, it's a brand new roll, so it's already cut. So then I'm going to take my decal and apply it just like we've done already, and make sure I get all of the bubbles out with my squeegee and then pull it off. And again, I think this is already cute as it is, and you could just leave it plain like this, but we're going to get some more pretties on there. So I'm taking some wired jute twine and a little bit of greenery from a Walmart bush, and I think these are, I don't remember how much these are. I'm so sorry, I forgot. I'm kind of having a brain toot right now. But anyway, we're going to take some little pieces off of this stem and then just attach them with some paddle wire all the way around our jute twine, and then you can fill in and make it a little bit fluffier if you want, and then I'll glue that onto my board around my words. And then I took some pretty fall flowers, some hydrangeas, and I originally had these little carnations on there, but they looked a little too springy, so I kind of covered those up and then added some leaves and some berries in those pretty fall colors. And then I took some pretty 5/8 inch ribbon and attached that at the top of my wreath and hot glued that down to the neck. And then I made a sweet little perky bow using the fold over method and snipped it in the middle, made a tail at the bottom, and then just foofed out my loops. And then I'll attach that to the top with that excess twine and tie it in the back. And that's it. It's so cinchy. And here it is all finished, and I think this is so sweet and would be a perfect little addition to a vignette in your kitchen, on a countertop or on a shelf, just coupled with other fun items. But I love how this turned out, and I hope you like it too. For this project, I'm using a chunky wood sign, some miscellaneous arrows, and then a square wood sign. And I'm just gonna take a couple of the arrows off of that sign and then sand them down to get the staple marks out. And then I'm taking my Cricut spatula again to pull off the paper from these. And these were a little tricky. They were a little more stubborn, so I had to take a little bit of time with that. And then Michael J had cut down a few of these signs for me so I would have some smaller pieces. And I'm just going to use some hot glue to attach it to that bottom sign. And then from the bottom, I'm going to use my brad nailer to keep that in place. And then I'll paint it with my Waverly chalk paint in white. Now I have to say, in another video, I had mentioned that Michael J had gotten me this brad nailer, and my brother was very upset with me because it was actually him and his wife Brandy that got me this brad nailer. And so I have to correct myself because Michael J had gotten me my staple gun. So, you know, all these tools look the same to me. I'm sorry, Jamie. I was very appreciative of this amazing brad nailer. So anyway, I'm going to paint my stand and then one of the arrows white, and then I'll paint one in maize chalk paint and then another one in celery. And so I'm not giving it a complete coverage because I do want some of that wood tone to come through and just peek out a little bit so it looks like it's a little bit worn. And then on my fourth arrow, which I almost forgot, I used silver lining in the Waverly chalk paint. So this time, in order to make my background templates, I'm going to be using my shapes icon to make the different sizes of arrows. And this will help me get my words the right size. And this is how I was able to decide what colors to use on each arrow and the colors for the words. So even if you're not necessarily needing a decal cutout, you can use Cricut's Design Space to help you with your color choices for whatever it is that you're crafting. So once I got all of my colors and my words in the right size, I'll go back and hide all of those templates and then make my words straight again. I have to make them all the same color so that there will only be one cutting mat. And because we're going to be stenciling this time, I'm going to move my words to the center so that I have enough stencil tape around the edges. So when you're weighting a stencil, this time instead of taking out the outside of the vinyl, you're going to take out the insides and leave that outside portion so that the paint will go inside whatever you pulled out. I think that's pretty obvious, but just in case it's not. So I'm going to get that all weeded out, and then I'll take my transfer tape and do the same process where I put it right on top, pull the backing sheet off, and then I'll attach it to each of my arrows. When you're stenciling on top of a painted area, and sometimes it gets a little porous on there, the stickiness won't actually hold super well, so you just kind of have to push it down a little more than usual. And then using a sponge dauber and very little paint, you'll just pounce around on there and it shouldn't have any bleeding. Again, I'm going to be sanding the edges with my sanding block so the pretty wood colors will peek through. And I also sanded the words so that they didn't look freshly painted. And then I hot glued those onto my stand all nice and crookedy. And I was going to secure them with my brad nailer that my brother got for me for my birthday. But I have to get some shorter brads so that it doesn't go all the way through. So now I'm using 3 Dollar Tree pumpkin picks, and I painted one with maize, one with celery, and one with white, and then I'll add some dry brushing on them for some more cuteness. So then I pulled a twig off of a bush in our backyard, and I'm going to replace those wimpy stems with little pieces, and I just cut those down and then pulled out the old ones with some pliers. and then I'll pop those right into the top. Now I'm going to take some raffia and loop it into a bow and then tie that around in the center with some jute twine and then wrap it around the base and tie it in the back. And then I hot glued a burlap leaf off to the side on the left and then stacked my little pumpkins in front and a pine cone on the other side. And then I made a sweet little bow to top my raffia, my raffia. But it got topped with a sweet little bow and it's done. And here's how it turned out. And oh my word, I think this is so stinking cutie patootie. I love these colors, which was kind of an accident because I ran out of my pumpkin chalk paint. So I had to improvise with these colors and I am so happy I did, which for some reason is telling me this can be turned into a message. Sometimes God will leave you without something you think you want, only to find that something better came along because you didn't have it. I don't know who that might have been for, but if it's you, I hope it helps. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed these projects, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment, let me know what you think. I'm slowly getting caught up on my comments. I'm still a few videos behind, but I will get there, I promise. Thank you again to Cricut for sponsoring this video. I hope everyone has a blessed day and remember to always be the light. Bye!